Hello, hello. Welcome back to another episode of Foreign Takes. I'm here with the one and only KG because Mr. Big Lev is actually at London or at Wembley today watching the game. Mr. KG, how you doing today, sir?
Feeling peachy, feeling fine. We destroyed the city grind.
The city grind. I mean, let's just jump right into it. So, of course, today was the FA Cup, and I cannot believe I'm saying this. Manchester City won, Manchester United 2. Absolute mayhem, my friend.
Beauty. I called it. I told you. I miss, but I also don't miss sometimes. I told you. United are gonna win this. There's no brain.
I mean, you said
And
we asked you last week, hey, what does your heart say and what does your brain say? And you said United to win both. So we'll give you
yeah,
credit for that.
yeah, it was obvious from my end at least. I think I saw that in the players that Ten Hag was players were backing Ten Hag. They needed Europe. They wanted it more. City for City was just another heartless trophy that they're collecting. It's I didn't see any passion in them to
Yeah,
do
I
it
mean,
except
let's
for
jump into the game itself. So I think the most surprising thing is that United came out stronger from the very first minute. Right? It's like there was a very clear tactic, which was Bruno as a false nine, but he wasn't really holding up the ball or anything. He was like dropping deep, and he had runners around him. So primarily that was Rashford, McTominay, and Garnacho were getting past him when he was receiving the ball. And Onana had a very clear strategy, which was to hit the ball behind the space, behind Walker, so that Rashford can hit it. Does that
yeah.
sound about right for the first, at least half?
That was the first half, and that was executed to the T. And United practiced this tactic in their last two games versus Newcastle and versus Brighton, and they've played this type of football before last season when Rashford scored a bunch of goals when it was one of his best seasons. That was what United was doing when the setup wasn't there. But now they could afford to play as the second fiddle versus City, and they had the center backs back. So even if it didn't work out, you had something to rely on.
It was a big risk, though, right? I have to say, like, we were texting in the group chat. So, starting, I think primarily I'm talking about Rashford and then Licha Martinez. Like, the two of them were clearly not fully match fit, which was noticeable because they petered out by the 70th minute. But the difference that especially Martinez made in the back is like night and day for the team, it
Night and
seems
day.
like.
Varane as well. Like it's like when people are saying that, oh, look, the Crystal Palace is at 4-0, having Casemiro and Evans and Varane and Martinez, who do you think is going to concede 4 goals? And Varane and Martinez are not conceding four. They may concede two. They can still play like shit, but they're not going to concede four. And
That's
it's pretty much it.
Yeah. And then on the City side, I think it was a little surprising because he pulled Phil Foden out and stuck him on the left wing, which he's not excelled at this season. And it was a characteristically weak game from Kevin De Bruyne. It's so bad that he got dragged off, right?
Yeah, he seems like again. I said that before this year on our podcast that I said that he will not be fully firing, but still, City still managed to win 15 games, and I would go on to say maybe this is a hot foreign take. Rodri is much more crucial to this team than De Bruyne is this season. At least that's evident because take out De Bruyne, they would still have wins on a bounce. Take out Rodri, and the Kovacic and Nunes and who they have, Foden and Grealish can't make the same magic as De Bruyne and Rodri. So the fact that De Bruyne wasn't firing is not news to me because I think he was good, but he wasn't great after he came back from the injury.
Yeah, that's not fair. I mean, when they slotted Foden, so like when they moved him out, Doku went on the left wing, and Foden went into his favorite spot as attacking midfielder, and Alvarez was the one supporting. I mean, City looked a different team, right? And also, despite City suddenly getting the upper hand, and of course, yeah, they hit the post. It still seemed like United were confident, right? It felt like this wasn't a United with their heads down defending. It felt like you are still dangerous on the counter attack for the last 25 minutes of the game, which is something unique to say.
They were confident, and you can see that confidence. And it's because primarily, I think, because it was Lisha Martinez and Varane at the back. Because they gave that confidence to Dalot, they gave that confidence to Wan-Bissaka. Wan-Bissaka had a great game. Although Doku scored under him, essentially, but that's the only chance that Doku got. I still don't get Doku as a player. I mean, I understand how good of a player he is, but again, for me, this is Antonio Valencia on steroids. I said it before. I'll say it again. He just does this cutbacks and he'll try to run past you. Once he doesn't have pace, he has nothing in him. No
But that's the whole
pass.
goal, right?
Yeah,
The whole goal is just for his pace, essentially. It's another Adama Traore, another Antonio
yeah,
Valencia.
exactly. That's what it is. I'm trying better, but same thing essentially. And the goal that they scored was more of an Onana mistake. He saw it late and all that. But Wan-Bissaka had, I think, a great game covering first Foden because he didn't hear about anything about him, and then Doku. So United looked confident, I think, because it was Varane and Martinez back, and a special shout out from the United side. I think well deserved, amazing year is Kobe May. Kobe Maino had he's 19. Can you tell that he's 19?
It's crazy. It's
You put in
crazy.
a shiver 26-year-old. He was so confident on the ball. Any ball that he got, he would easily shake off any City player. First touch, amazing. First touch with any part of his body. Whether it would be chest, whether it would be his knee, whether it would be his foot. Amazing player. He drove that midfield forward, and I think everyone played well. I don't think there is a player that put a foot wrong from the
Yeah.
United side, which is a rare sight, to be
That's true.
honest.
And I think I can't believe I'm saying this, but Amrabat deserves a shout out as well. He's ending
Yeah,
the season so strong because I think the biggest difference is I remember watching a few weeks ago a game with Casemiro in and then a game with Amrabat. Casemiro's legs are gone. And you
yeah.
can notice it more when you compare him to Amrabat, who seems to be growing in like stature. But the Amrabat duo with in this case Kobe Menu is amazing, right? Because Amrabat really brings energy, strength, aggression. He just looks like much more fit compared to Casemiro. I don't know. It seemed like there was a solid foundation. The whole spine was solid this time round.
Yeah, it was a solid foundation. This is, I think, was a great expose of Ten Hag going, this is what I can do when I have a fully fit squad. Because none of those players were fit throughout the whole season. There wasn't a single, I think maybe there was one game where everyone was fit. I think Casemiro was going versus Arsenal, and then Lisandro Martinez dropped off. So there wasn't a single game or a single stretch of games where this lineup could have been tested the whole season. So it's very easy to understand where Ten Hag comes from when he says, I didn't have injury. So if I didn't have the injuries, that is. So this spine is pretty strong, and I get when people are saying where was Amrabat this whole season. I don't understand why he didn't play at the beginning of the season. Maybe he needed to take 2, 3, 4 months to understand the game. Then he got injured. Then he had the Afcon. So he maybe just time got into between him getting in the squad and playing. Also, he wasn't supposed to be the first pick for CDM. He was supposed to be a rotational player.
Yep.
But a great game from him, anyways. I
Yeah.
truly,
Can we talk about Ten Hag? So, for anyone who hasn't watched it, you should watch the Ten Hag interview with the BBC One commentators afterwards. So, Gary Lineker and so. But Ten Hag explicitly said it, right? So, let's talk about the future of Ten Hag. So, I think this was, he basically did himself the best possible job, right? So, regardless what happens, he has it easy. So, if he gets fired, he says, look, what I was able to do with this firing, with a full team. If they keep him, there's at least faith, I feel like, from the Manchester United fan base that, oh, look what this manager is able to do. It feels like almost he did the best possible thing for himself, and now like the stage is set. So it's like he has played his cards. Does that sound about right? Like, should he stay? Should he go? How do you feel about it?
I was one of the people from the United fan base who were towards the end. The odds were 50-50. At the beginning, I was fully Ten Hag in. Then it gradually went to 60-40 after that loss of the Champions League. And the reason why I was 50-50, it was because they he didn't adjust. I understood everything. I understood the injuries. I understood everything that's happening. But then at the end of the day, winning is the most important part, and getting a result is the most important part. And for you, since you were out of the league, Champions League, and you were out of the race for the title, which you were never in, your main priority was to get top four, and he really had a shot. And everything began from that Fulham game, which they lost. And he didn't adjust. He still played his football. And then I got the answer to it in his rationale and his explanation, which was he did an interview with Gary Neville where he said that, oh, I'm trying to implement a style of football, a play of football. I didn't get the players that I necessarily wanted. This is a 3-year project. This is the second year of the project. I'm not going to take time out of my project for to adjust the play for a result. This is a work in progress. You need to stick with it. So I got that, and I still was 50-50 because on the one hand, I want the result. On the other hand, I get what you're doing, and you may be stubborn as much as you want. Now with the FA Cup result, he adjusted and he got the result. So there's no, in my opinion, there's no point in sacking him if he gave a logical reason to why he's doing it, and you're seeing that it is there has potential to be work there. He brought in young players such as Garnacho, Maino, Hoyun into the fold. There is a clear spine in the team that can be playing forward, and he got into 3 finals in 2 years. I don't feel like this is on Jose Mourinho or Ole to sack him.
Yes.
Swayed. He literally swayed me. Although a lot of people say uh, you can't judge a manager by one game, and then what they meant is like even if he wins the FA Cup, he still needs to be judged rationally. But I think you can't judge it by one game, depending on how the game went. If United won this game with, let's say, Garnacho scored that one goal, and then they sat back and City had 3 posts, they scored, they almost scored, or they scored 1-1 and United won on penalties, that doesn't give you confidence. This result gave you confidence.
Yeah, that's true. It felt like his team, right? This
Yeah,
wasn't a they stumbled upon it. It felt like this was Eric Ten Hag's team today.
yeah,
And I think I'm with you because I was watching after the game and there was a very telling moment where Martinez, as soon as the whistle blows, the first person Martinez goes to celebrate with is Ten Hag. He basically lifts him, gives him a massive, and I think that's the thing. It's like you can always tell is the squad behind him. It's just so obvious that the squad is behind him. It's just like
yeah,
there's nothing else to say. The squad, he was saying hi to Maguire, Luke Shaw. They were all coming to him to basically celebrate with it, which I think says everything you need to know about the team. In all
yeah.
honesty, um,
And I think it's a disgrace, to be honest, to leak these news, to even have this possibility of this discussion before a cup final. This INEOS guys came in, and when people were discussing between Qatar and them, they were saying, "Oh, but they are well run. They run the British bicycle team to the millimeters. They're so amazing. They're this and that. They're the same shitty ownership that the Glazers are. That they didn't solve any problems. They want to do their own thing." And to leak out information, to even have a possibility, even if you came to a conclusion, let's say you have 3 people who make this decision of saying that we want to sack Ten Hag, you need to keep it as under wraps as possible. You don't start talking to Kieran McKenna
agreed,
with 2 days to the final. You are no worse than you're no better than the Glazers. You're this cut
agreed.
from the same cloth. So
Yeah,
United, in terms of a good future for United under Ineos, I don't believe they have any good future because they're the same shit. They're making the same mistakes. It's not
yeah.
like they've been reading any complaints of the fans.
Yeah, I think I will. The reason I especially agree with you because when they were going up to take the medals and celebrate and stuff, there was a moment when Jim Ratcliffe, the way he talked, he was basically fangirling over Pep Guardiola, and he straight up like stopped the line to like talk to him, hug him, all this. But when it was Ten Hag, it was just the most cold, dry handshake, nod, and push basically. And I was like, this is your manager for your club that just won, and that was all you did, and yet to the losing manager, I don't know, it felt a little off in all honesty with Radcliffe.
It's the same thing as the Glazers. They did the most disgraceful thing of sacking Louis van Gaal after winning the FA Cup. Everyone branded it as disgraceful. This was the stamp on how bad the Glazers are. That's what the beginning of this conversation that Glazers are bad started with Louis van Gaal sack. People forget when
Yep.
Moyes got sacked. People forgot about, like, they wrote it off as Ferguson's not here. Blah blah blah. It's not the owners. Give them time. Louis van Gaal was already three years after Ferguson got sacked. Then he got sacked. Ferguson left, and that was the beginning of how could you do that? This is so disgraceful. Van Gaal should have had time to negotiate with other teams. You didn't let him know. He spoiled the party. All the pundits in the world did that. and you have a clear blueprint on what not to do, and you come in as new owners and you do that, you're the same shitty owners. You can't
Yeah,
win over the fan base. You're gonna turn the fans all over you again.
yeah.
It's so stupid.
It's so stupid. I
Especially
think that
when it's so stupid, especially when everything is lined up for you. Ten Hag has another year left on his contract. You don't need to necessarily move. I understand that you want Kieran McKenna, but in a year, like just by the judging by the management market, 3 weeks ago we were saying who's United going to get if they sack Ten Hag? There was no managers. Now there's five options. Do you think in a year's time you're not going to find a better option than Kieran
because
McKenna?
exactly that's exactly it. Um, just talking about the impact of this game on the rest of the league, though. So this does mean that United now has European football, so they're going to go to Europa League. Chelsea now drops out of Europa League and goes to Europa Conference League, and Newcastle, that team of trolls, doesn't get any European football. So quite a crazy way to end the Premier League, essentially. Now that it's
Yeah.
all squared away. So,
And
so
before we talk about Chelsea, speaking of team of trolls, Alan Shearer, former Newcastle guy, got sat down by Eric Ten Hag in an interview, didn't he? And partially because of that, probably I don't know. I don't know.
yes, absolutely. You could tell Alan Shearer was bitter, so bitter. So, and he was being all protective and like defensive. But this is why I gotta give credit to Ten Hag. The Dutchies definitely know what they're doing. They
Yeah,
say whatever is on their mind.
he sat everyone down. He sat
Yeah,
everyone down. Good for him. If he leaves, he's definitely the winner in this situation. I think it's a PR nightmare for Genius and a team that
yeah,
worries about PR. They should understand that this is a like everyone and their grandmother is in the agreement with Ten Hag should stay. And I think Aaron Ten Hag's outers were in the United fan base where Cristiano Ronaldo's circle jerk circus that works around that they got bitter that he kicked them out. So
yep,
they're the ones who are very vocal about
yeah. It's crazy.
it.
I mean, crazy. Let's just move on to the other also crazy final that happened on Wednesday, which was the Europa League final. So this was at the absolutely stunning Atalanta team came up against Mr. Never Losing, aka Leverkusen. Crazy to say, Atalanta 3, Leverkusen 0, and I think every single person can agree the most deserved scoreline possible. Correct, KG?
Smashed. They smashed them. And nobody
Smashed them.
expected that. I thought that the game was going to be close. I didn't expect. I thought Liverpool was going to get a goal. Atlanta's going to get a goal. They're going to be afraid. They played them out the park.
Yeah,
Leverkusen couldn't do
you
anything.
and I had talked about this. Like, don't underestimate Atalanta. They're the one team that tactically can match and be flexible against this Leverkusen team. And I mean, he showed it, right? Gasperini. This was a tactical masterclass by Gasperini. And I think also on the flip side, Xabi Alonso made some tactical errors. I think it's a little bit of both. Is that fair to say?
It's fair to say. I think Alonso made a tactical mistake by putting Adli on from the beginning, not going with a proper striker. Where if you don't get the ball because they overloaded the midfield, Atalanta really did. That's what I think the solution is to these teams that play this pep style football of like passing the ball around. As long as you overload the midfield, they're gonna go on the wings, and then the only thing on their wingers that typically in this type of teams what they want from the wingers is to cross in and shoot. But if the midfield is overloaded, the cross rarely gets to the target. Or if they shoot, there's going to be a body of players. So if you overload the midfield, you solve their problems. They're not going to have a counter-attacking game. It's just going to be passing to the wings, and it's just blocked. You're just going to
Yep.
end there.
Yep. And Frimpong was on the wrong wing, which was crazy.
I
Like
also Frimpong had two people on it.
yeah, just it was yeah. It's but I mean credits also then to Lookman because Lookman was this is the game of his life, right? Is that fair
Yeah,
to say? Like he's never
it's
gonna
very
do this ever again.
probably never going to do it unless he goes to Bayern Munich in 2 years when they play in a
Just
final.
unbelievable because every shot, fantastic. I mean, the finishes are
The finishes
these.
were gold, crisp finishes. Adamola Lukman, you're a gem. What? Can't believe that guy missed the Panenka for Fulham 2 years ago.
Yeah, I know.
Uh,
What a rise, honestly. But I mean, the
yeah,
finishes, you look at them and there's nothing to say, right? It's not like the defenders did a bad job. It's not like the goalie did a bad job. They were just, these were Messi tier, Messi Champions League on a Tuesday night. He pulls out the magic and you can't say anything but just clap and say, congratulations, you deserve
yeah.
it.
they played them at the park, and they did have normal shots which were saved. It's just the ones that went in. It was just they gave him space, they gave him time, and you just put him in the net. Hat trick in the final. I haven't seen that in a while. And yeah, for in terms of the mistakes tactically, I think what Gasperini did smartly is what I mentioned. He put two the overloaded the midfield, and Frimpong had two people on him, so he couldn't do much. And then Wirtz always had two people on him.
Yes,
He couldn't get he didn't have the space, and he was so frustrated. He substituted him 3-0 down, but Wirtz couldn't find the spot. He couldn't do anything. He was eaten alive. So once he took off those two people, Grimaldo alone can cross the ball all he wants. Frimpong's not going to make those runs. Wirtz is not going to be cleaning up. And Adli is your striker. That's where
terrible.
he makes no mistake.
Yeah.
No sense. And then,
Yep.
yeah,
But
it's
this is
just
expected, right? I'm like, listen. At the end of the day, I mean, so just we're recording this on a Saturday, and they just took the DFB Pokal today, so that is 52 wins out of 53 games. Still, an insane season, right? There's nothing to be said. Like
insane
insane,
season. Insane season.
insane.
I think this is the only game that Leverkusen, it shows Javi Alonso's managerial capabilities that he went in against one of the best managers in the game and who tactically one of the best managers in the game, and he got schooled. So he didn't
Yes,
have much competition. He didn't go against anyone. Tuchel, that's the only one we went up against on that level in the league. Maybe you can count Borussia Dortmund, but
mm,
Terzic
not
is
really.
not
Yeah,
really. So it was he got schooled, so he has a lot to learn from, but
yeah.
it was a good lesson for him. It's not
Yeah.
a negative.
Yeah,
To,
agreed.
no.
That's it. I'm with you there. I think people are like, "Oh, you see," I'm like, "No, there's no criticism. Yeah, he made a mistake. He'll learn. It's his first freaking year as a manager, and he's won unbeaten, invincible record. Yeah,
It's just everyone starts and us as well, like three treble was the unbeaten one. That's the idea of it. It's so difficult to do. That's why it's so preposterous. But even if you didn't do that, it's not a bad thing.
yeah,
Like the truth. Then win the Europe, like it's completely fine.
yeah.
And on the other hand, you need to give a shout out to Gasperini, who's built up Atalanta. Atalanta was a small team that was in the lower tiers of Serie A, and they're constantly competing for the top four positions in Serie A. Have a lot of talent, for example, Hoyund and what's it called? Ahmad from United came from Atalanta, so they built up the youth team, and he's very good a good tactical coach, and fair play to him. Good thing that they won the Europa League, if
Deserved.
deserved, so deserved.
Yeah.
And Leverkusen shouldn't have won the Europa League because of the Karabakh farce anyway. So
I knew it was gonna come up, my friend. I knew it was gonna come up. Yeah, that's good. I think, and then I think just quickly to touch on, there's two finals coming up. So there's of course the Conference League final and the Champions League final. So Conference League final will be Olympiacos v Fiorentina, which I think you and I are definitely going to be watching that. I know a lot of our fans don't listen to don't watch these types of games. I'm super excited. In all honesty, I think it's going to be a fantastic final. Would
I
you
think it's going to
agree?
be a good final. Yeah, I think it's going to be a great final. I think Olympiacos at home versus Fiorentina, who's also a very good tactically set up for from a Serie A perspective. They didn't finish high up, but it's a good way for them to go into Europa League. But I have Olympiacos winning.
Me too. Home advantage plus
Yeah,
just the energy that they've been having lately. I think they're gonna peak Pip
they
Fiorentina.
dropped Aston Villa. I'm sorry, like, and they're playing at home. It's like if it was a completely neutral venue, I would be like, yeah, Fiorentina has a shot,
Yeah, no
probably
chance.
more.
Yeah,
But yeah, no chance. I think
yeah.
it's
Especially what they did to Emery and his Villa team. I mean, Emery is the master of these second tier like the
yeah,
Europa League and Conference League. For them to do that to him, I mean, it was terrible. Like they destroyed
terrible,
him both home and away. Like it was
terrible.
incredible. Yeah. And then just quickly, because I don't really want to talk about Champions League, because we all know. So Champions League is also coming up next Saturday. That's of course Borussia Dortmund v Madrid. I don't think there's much to say. Who do you have for that?
Madrid is gonna lift the cup. That's all I know at the end. I don't know how they're gonna do it, but they will. They're gonna
Agreed,
lift it.
right? It's just like written in the stars. Like, I'm sorry, Dortmund just, it's always a possibility in this one single game that, they're able to do something. Just everything seems lined up for Madrid.
It's still gonna be a final. Dortmund's still gonna show up. I don't think it's probably gonna be 5-0, but I think it's probably gonna be 2-0.
right? Tony
Yeah,
Cruz final
Tony
game
Kroos.
will be him lifting, and they're gonna let him lift it. There's no way
Yeah,
Nacho's lifting it as the.
yeah.
They're literally gonna let him lift it. It's just there's nothing to say. This is typical Madrid, honestly.
Speaking of Tony Cruz, what a player! What a player! He's leaving us. One of the greats in the game. Can't believe. I think that's the start of the fall off of Bayern Munich as an institution when they let this man go. Deemed him not good enough. What a career! What a player! That pass, just as a highlight at 36 or however old he is, that pass to Vini Jr. against Bayern Munich. Only elite level players can do that, and yeah, the game is gonna miss him. One of
The
the
game,
greats.
exactly. That's it. The game is gonna miss him, right? You just watch him and you're like, this is a midfielder. This is a pat. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm kind of sad, to be honest. I think all of
yeah,
us, all of us as football fans are going to be sad that he's leaving us. But also credit to him. He's leaving while he's still at the top of his game. In all honesty, he
yeah.
showed it this year. He started the majority of the games. He's still performing. I mean, he's starting midfielder for Madrid at the age that he is. There's no drop off whatsoever in his level.
Similar to Johnny Evans.
Yeah, I can't believe. All right, I think just
Joke,
quickly,
joking, joking. Tony Cruz is levels above. Yeah,
it's quite good. I have to say. I think let's just quickly touch on the manager merry-go-round, and we'll do our team of the season. Just quickly, so manager merry-go-round is freaking chaos right now. So let's just start with the craziest one, which is Kompany gets relegated with Burnley, but is now confirmed going to Bayern. What the heck, man?
ah, I don't even know what to say. I think somewhere in the corner there's just a sad Harry Kane going like, oh no, oh no, no, no. What have I done? I could have stayed at Spurs, stayed at home, ate my fish and chips, ate my shepherd's pie, and finished fifth. Why did I do this to myself? Vincent Company, really, really? I mean, if we take the banter away and look at it objectively, tactically, he has this bold fraud. Okay, it's this new way of playing, new school of thought, whatever you want. This Pep Guardiola style, and it can work at Bayern Munich if he implements it.
Yes.
The problem I have with him is similar to the problem that I had with Ten Hag. You're playing with Burnley and you're fighting for relegation, and you chose to not adjust your game style to the players that you have in the team that you're playing against. Sounds similar like Tuchel. Tuchel's also a man who likes to tinker. He didn't adjust his style to the players that he had. He did a mistake. He brought in Eric Dyer. He like doubled down on that thing.
Yep.
And I don't know how can you make a rational decision going. This man got relegated with Burnley, but they sure played some attractive passing. I want that at Bayern Munich. Just don't
I mean,
understand.
it's gonna be worth watching because the thing is, you're right. He finally has the players to implement the crazy stuff he was trying to do this past year. But, whew, interesting. That I
But
think
he
also
wasn't able to implement it. That's the point. He
yes,
wasn't
because
successful.
but then the counter is like, oh, but he didn't have the players for it, and then of course then we go back to the circle of what you just said, which is, but that means he has to adjust. If you don't have the players, you have to adjust to the players that you have.
See, I think for me, having a clear style of play, I think everyone's obsessed with this idea that you need to have a clear style of play. I think, yes, you need to have a clear style of play, but you also need to be a winner. And
Yes.
being a winner means that's why I like Jose Mourinho a lot as a manager. And I put him higher than a lot of people put him. Put him third in the Premier League after Pep Guardiola's fourth, in my opinion. I think he's better than Pep Guardiola, in my opinion.
Whew.
I would take him. And the reason why I would take him is because the man would do anything to win.
Agreed.
Spurs are such Spurs that they refuse to win a title and they fire them. He would have won that EFL Cup final for them.
Yeah,
He would have
embarrassing
done
to fire him
everything.
before. Yeah,
It's
I
embarrassing to fire him before.
yeah.
But I'm just saying that's why like Jose Mourinho now is outdated. But in his prime, when his game style of football was relevant, he would have done anything and chopped and changed it to win. And I don't think this crop of managers that are coming up that have a philosophy and a style of play will compromise that philosophy for winning.
I agree. I mean, the other similar manager is okay. Hansi Flick is now confirmed. He's going to Barcelona. Goodbye, Xavi. This also seems some
Stupid.
insane politics, right? By Laporta, whatever issues he's got going. But Hansi Flick to I mean, good manager, but it seems really unnecessary change after they had reneged Xavi leaving, and now he's leaving again.
It's such a stupid change. And it's also completely two different styles of play as well. Like you have completely different players that play completely like Javi's playing the Barcelona style. He has the Barcelona kids, and you brought in players specifically for the Barcelona style. And now you're bringing in a German football that is high pressing, high running, which is not what Barcelona is about. What are you going to be doing? Like, how is that style marry?
Insanity. No
It,
continuation, no nothing. I mean,
it's
Madrid is celebrating, right? Because they're like,
oh,
let's our primary
Girona's
competitor.
celebrating.
Girona's
Girona's like,
celebrating.
I'm going to be finishing second next year too. And Man City's happy with me as well because I sold Savio to them. Not shady at all.
Not shady at all.
Yeah,
And then going just quickly back to the Premier League, it doesn't this doesn't end. Poch, I think this was all we all knew was coming, considering what he was doing. But Poch has been fired by Chelsea. More insanity by Chelsea, right? This
also
is just the clown show. Just continues.
it's also stupid. He just got them firing and playing as his first year, and you put him into a burning house, and he left the end of the season with little bits of flames over them. They got Europe, albeit conference and league now, but I mean that was out of their hands. They did the maximum that they could given their season,
Insane.
and you just any progress that you have it. You erase it to zero. To do what? To bring in who?
That's exactly. We don't know. That's the crazy. I mean, then the one of the just another manager that's being talked about, Kieran McKenna from Ipswich Town. Everyone's talking. Oh, United, blah blah blah. That's who they're talking about replacing. But there's another opening. De Zerbi was also fired from Brighton. That's been confirmed. So that's another opening. So Chelsea have an opening. Brighton have an opening. And then who knows? Man United might have, but we already covered them. This is all insanity, right? This manager merry-go-round this year is by far the craziest we've seen it.
Yes, it should have been. It's been a slowly brewing kind of thing because ever since the conversations of firing people started, people were like, "Okay, who are you gonna get?" Everyone's busy. There's nobody available, and now that people started firing other managers, it's obvious. It's like it reminds me of this F1 silly season when you have a limited amount of actually good drivers that can go to a team, and they have silly seasons when people just get fired and just rotate spaces. It's
Same thing.
similar to that because there's only one new manager in the fold, which is McKenna. Everyone
Yep.
else has just been fired by someone else. And in terms of McKenna, I think he was at United for a handful of years. He was an assistant coach to Jose, to Ole, and to Ten Hag. And he left 2 years ago, or before Ten Hag came, he left. And he's a good manager, whatnot. I believe in him. I think United wanted to keep that option open, thinking that he's going to stay at Ipswich, and then uh, he won't go anywhere. And then at the end of the year, they'll see how Ten Hag does, and maybe pull that trigger. Now it seems like Chelsea started asking for it.
Yep.
And if I was United, I would let him go to Chelsea because nobody will succeed in that club.
Exactly. And he gets experience, right? I am with you. The point being, he should either stick to Ipswich, in my opinion. He needs more experience. So I don't know why these clubs are acting like he's the next whatever. Like, let him get. So he should, and for himself, I'm like, stick with Ipswich Town. There's going to be no pressure on you to stay up next year. If you go down, it's fine. You're a promoted team. If you stay up, amazing job. But you get 1 year of experience of just like learning how to manage in the Premier League.
And I mean, he got back-to-back promotions with Ipswich. That's why
Yes.
it's amazing to what he did. But I agree with you. Have Premier League is levels above the Championship. Stay around, see what you did, what it happens, get some Premier League experience. I get it. I get the United connection more just because he's been part of the backroom staff. So that makes sense that if they would fire Ten Hag, they would go for him, and I would want them to go for him rather than I would want them to go for Poch and for De Zerbi. But in terms of going to Chelsea, like, would you really like? I think you would put yourself to an equal amount of pressure going to this Chelsea side, which is not easy, like very well structurally made, and having a team that got promoted, trying to survive. But the judgment is going to be much more crazy on the other side.
Yes.
If you fail at Chelsea, you basically have a big red X on your resume. If you fail at Ipswich, there's always an excuse of like, oh, we got promoted.
Agreed.
The manager didn't
Exactly.
invest in that. It's such a no-brainer move. And if he wants to go to Chelsea, if I was United, I'll be like, go to Chelsea.
Yeah.
Go. Like,
Yeah.
I
Agreed.
good luck. Good luck.
Yeah. And then just one quick shout out. I think Stefano Pioli has officially been fired from AC Milan. It seemed like it was the end of the cycle anyway, but he got them back. He got his the Serie A title. The team was clicking. Giroud, Liao. It was a classic team, honestly, with Pioli there. It was a good couple of years, I have to say.
He's leaving at the same time as your boy Giroud that you have a
Yeah.
poster of at the back
Hey,
for
hey,
our listeners.
that sexy
Uh,
Frenchman. I love that man.
but I mean, it was the end of the cycle, and to be honest, they didn't invest much in him to
Yes.
actually compete. So he can clearly make an argument that he's a winner. In my book, he's a winner.
Agreed. Agreed. Also in my book.
I wanted to get your opinion before we move on from the managerial. Your opinion on Deserve and your opinion on Poch.
I mean, I think Poch is gonna get another job. He really, I have to give him credit as much as I dislike some of the stuff he does. It's stupid from Chelsea to fire him, but he was basically saying "fire me." He was clearly coming out and saying like "fire me, fire me." The complaints he was making, I need a number nine. They have just spent money on buying Jackson. So I think Poch is like he just needs to find a young team that he can like re-implement all of the stuff from scratch and like work with the manager with the ownership structure. So
Yeah.
I think some team is gonna find him. But the Deserby part is like I love Deserby. I think he played some of the most tactically interesting football. Like I will give him credit. The problem is he does not adjust. Like we were talking about earlier, he is the master of saying this is the way I play, take it or leave it, and he's done this his entire career. So people are like, "Oh, this." I'm like, guys, we all know what he does. This is what he's always done. Nothing is different. So I hope he lands somewhere in the Premier League. To be honest, that is going to be willing to give him players of his like what he's looking for, as opposed to the Brighton model where they bring in players and the manager has to adjust. So I think I don't know. It's going to be a miss for the Premier League because he's tactically speaking so fun to watch. Some of the crazy shit that he was implementing.
Do you think Poch has the opportunity to win a title? Because Deserve, I get it. He's the same mold of Pep, Ten Hag, that type of manager who has character and charisma. But in terms of Poch, I think he has a proven track record now everywhere, and he's won what, one trophy?
Yeah, I
Like,
with PSG, I think no.
yeah,
I personally I don't think so, but I think part of it is I think he could have done it. Whatever it was 10 years ago when Spurs were essentially competing, and but the truth is at that time all of the quote unquote traditional big six were having a down year, and that's the year that Leicester took it essentially. But like that was the opportunity, and he had a good team. It was just the right combination. The stars were aligned. The mistake was that they didn't invest. Like Daniel Levy was too cheap to give him the additional 2 to 3 pieces to get him over the line. But unless another magical thing like that happens again, I don't think so. Like he needs all the stars to be lined up with a nice group of players he's put together for 5 or 6 years. I just think in the current world that we live in and like the way the managers get fired and hired and fired, it's just never going to happen again for him. Yeah,
yeah, he could have won the FL Cup this year. He just
that's
bottled
true. Yeah, he did want all that.
it.
So I think then just to wrap up, now that the Premier League season is over, I figured it would be a good time for us to do a team of the season, just like we did last year. So the idea would be we'll do a traditional 4-4-3. Sorry, 4-3-3, not 4-4-3. That doesn't exist. So four three
Yeah,
three, just to make it easy. There's no arguments, and we'll go position by position. Does that sound good?
yeah, sounds good. Yep.
Okay, so I will throw out some players for each position, and then if you have someone else that I've missed, obviously let me know. But I figured we'd start with goalie. So I think goalie, my shout out, there's a couple good ones. So Allison, of course, had another amazing year. Uh, Raya had the highest number of clean sheets. I think probably a shout out for Emi Martinez. I think my goalie of the season would probably be Emi Martinez. I'm curious for your take.
That's very, very safe take for Emi Martinez. Emi Martinez is not my goal of the year. My goal of the year is going to be Ryan. I think clean sheets. I would definitely go with Raya and the two center backs from Arsenal. And I wouldn't put Ederson because he was injured for a long period of time.
Agreed.
I would have put Ederson if he played more, even if he was a little bit less, if he had less clean sheets than Raya. just because it's probably his last season with Man City, but
Yeah.
because of that, right?
Yeah, I agree. I think it was like close between Raya and Martinez. I think that just like Martinez had these moments, and I think they both made mistakes, which is fine. You know, all the goalies make the occasional mistake. Just Martinez, sometimes you see him. He just does. He psychs out the strikers, whether it's penalties. He just has this aura about him,
Yeah,
and I know a lot of people dislike that about him, but
yeah.
it works, right? At the end of the day, he makes saves he should not be making. I think is the
It's
truth.
that shithousery aura that Martinez had, Lisandro Martinez had with Kyle Walker today. Also,
Exactly.
get
Yeah.
fucked, Kyle Walker. You're not getting into my team with this.
Okay, so I think let's just take Raya as the goalie.
Yep.
Then let's do right back. So I think it's quite hard to pick right back, to be honest. Couple shout outs, of course. I think like there's Ben White, of course, at Arsenal. There's of course Kyle Walker. I think there was a couple other good shout outs. I think Pedro Porro had quite a fantastic year. Any other shout outs for right back?
Matty Cash.
Oh yeah, Matty Cash with Villa had a good year. I think personally, this is of course people are gonna say I'm biased, but I think Ben White had the right back spot locked in
I
my
think
opinion.
the team of the year defense should be Arsenal, except for the
Right?
left back position,
Except for the left
because
back.
Arsenal had the cleanest, like the most clean sheets. And I'm a
Yes.
United fan, by the way. For everyone, when I'm going to be cutting this, so people know, then I am not trying to be not biased here. Yes,
Yeah.
I'll go with Ben White over Kyle Walker for me. I don't like Kyle Walker. That's a personal opinion, but I think depending on how you want to play, I think Ben White was solid this
Yeah.
season. He
Going up,
was
going down,
going up
inverting,
in both ways.
outgoing.
I think Kyle Walker is great going forward, but he is dodgy going back. Ben White is a safer option. Like I would rather sacrifice going forward than I would going
Yeah.
back.
And he was doing incredible. Okay, so then just let's do left back quickly because I think left
Yeah,
back there's so I think there's of course Nuri of Wolves had an absolutely incredible season. I'm gonna also throw out Anthony Robinson of Fulham, another fantastic season. Alfie Dowdy of Luton. I know they got relegated, but I think he had some quality games.
yeah.
But left back, and then of course I think Destiny Dogi of
Udogi.
Spurs was just absolutely incredible
Mm.
and completely underrated. But I think personally, I think my vote would probably be Ait Nuri of Wolves. How do we feel about that? Or other
My
shout
vote
outs?
would probably would be Udogi because
Yeah,
Udogi really had an impact on Tottenham. He was good throughout the 65% of the season, and he was from a smaller Italian side who came into the Premier League. And just because of that, I would put Destiny Udogi in as a left back.
yeah, I agree. I mean, the man is also built like a freaking machine. Like I think people
Yeah,
underrate the dude is so fast and so strong.
yeah,
He has every the world is his oyster. I think he
yeah.
could do whatever he wants. Okay,
As
so
long as he's not in Spurs, but yeah.
fair enough. Okay, so I think center backs. So of course, I think I'm gonna do just some quick shout outs. I think there was Murillo of Nottingham Forest, incredible season. I think Mickey Van de Ven of Spurs, another amazing season. Jared Brantwith of Everton, another fantastic season. And then I think, of course, there's Gabriel and Saliba. There's others, but people I'm skipping a lot of people who weren't in shape for most of the season or who didn't play. But I'm with you. You already said it. You can't go past Gabriel and Saliba for center backs, right?
To be fair and to be less biased, I would go with one of Gabriel and Saliba and one of Stones probably from City, just to have a Stones City player there, because I think that's probably
Wow.
one of the two players from City that I'm gonna get there. I'll go Stones, Saliba. I think Saliba was better. You really missed him last season,
Yes.
so he changed this format.
That's a. I am shocked because I honestly think I mean there but okay, leaving that aside for fairness sake and balancing out City because they won, there is no better pairing in the Premier League right now, right? By
No,
Saliba
there's
and
no better
Gabriel.
pairing.
Yeah,
No, there's no better pairing.
yeah.
I
Okay,
agree with that. I'm saying in terms of fairness, because there's 11 spots in 20 teams.
yeah.
I will go with
Fair enough.
Stones.
Okay, fine. So I think we'll go
Because they won
Saliba
the
and so
league and he was the winning center back. He played the
yeah.
most. Blah blah
Fair
blah.
enough. Yep.
City fans don't cry too much. Yeah.
Okay,
If
so that
there
means
are any listening, well, I don't even know.
they don't. There are no City
Yeah,
fans. That means okay. So our back line, our back five is Raya in goal, Ben White in the right back, Saliba and Stones center backs, and Udogi from as left back. So then
yeah.
I think we're playing three in the midfield. So let's just do the three trios. So I think you'll come up with your trio and I'll come up with my trio. So I think for my trio, I have Rodri as the base, Odegaard as the right attacking midfielder, and I think I can't believe I'm going to do this, but I think I'm going to do Bruno Fernandez as the left attacking midfielder.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
That's a surprising shout from you.
Yes.
I would, my trio would be, and is based on how I like, and it may not be great playing wise, it may be too defensive. I would have put Rice, Rodri, and drumroll, Kobe Main, just because of his season, just
Oh,
because he,
did no
this is a
offense
biased one.
whatsoever.
Yeah, it's about no, but come on, like that. He had a goal of the season nominee. He dragged this United side. It's a biased one. If it wasn't, let's be honest, if it wasn't Kobe Mainoo, I would have put
Odegaard.
Odegaard and
Yeah.
Fernandez with you. I would agree, but I think Fernandez didn't do. He dragged this United side, but they finished eighth, and the FA Cup is an addition. So yeah, up to
Yeah.
you how you want to decide it.
Yeah. This is quite difficult. I'm sorry.
Because I
We
think both
cannot.
Rodri and Rice need to be there. Because
Yes.
I think Rice, the way Rice played, and this is again
Agreed.
$100 million, everyone forgot. £100 million, everyone forgot about it. Okay,
Agreed.
like not even once it was said £100 million transfer, wasted money, nothing
Yes.
like that.
From the first minute, literally from the first game, it
And
was
he scored
understood.
so many winning goals, so he needs to be in the team of the season.
Yes.
Rodri, because if you kill him, City's dead. And then on the
Yes.
right side, you either have
Odegaard or
Fernando. Oh no, the order Foden. You need to put Foden. Oh, Foden's a. We're gonna put him on
well, this
left.
is the difficulty, right? Because I think, but yeah, I think this one. So let's do Rice as the left center back. Sorry, left eight. Odegaard as the right eight, and then Rodri as the base. I mean, this is like a
Okay.
championship. This is everything.
Okay.
Okay, so then we have three spots left. Of course, the two striker position. Sorry, the striker position and the two winger positions. I think this is where the difficulty really comes, right? So of
I think it's
course
not difficult. I think it's pretty.
we have to include Foden, right? I don't think this is a
Foden on the
choice.
left, Palmer on the right. That's a given. Saka's not gonna be in there. I'm sorry. Palmer had a better season at right wing. I'm sorry, my friend.
Fair
I've
enough.
been
Then fair. Honestly, I hate to say that, but you're right. Palmer on the right, Foden on the left. Even though they should both, they're all looking for the same exact position, which is the
yeah,
crazy thing. England is stacked.
exactly.
Then the question is striker is the question. So I'm gonna do some shout outs for striker. Of course, there's Mr. Cyborg, Erling Haaland, who just had another amazing
Captain
season.
Merchant and 3 penalties. Okay.
I think Dominic Solanke had an absolutely incredible season with Bournemouth.
And hasn't been called up to the England squad. Ivan Toney, who did a betting scandal, played half a season, got a shout, and Dominic Solanke did it. Gareth Southgate, you fucking fraud.
Let's pause there, and then I think Ollie Watkins also has to be shout out because I mean the things he did this season with Emery, I mean incredible. So I think we're settled. Right side Palmer, left side Foden. Who are we gonna go with striker is the question.
Either Dom Solanke or Watkins.
Right? I'm gonna go Ollie Watkins. I think he's just the things he did this year, incredible, like top tier. Is that fair to
Yeah,
say?
I would go with Ollie Watkins just because of the finish in the season. Dom Solanke, great season. Hopefully he can repeat it and move to a higher team. Maybe even substitute Ollie Watkins in Aston Villa. That would be a good transfer. But yeah, Ollie Watkins should be there. There should be someone from Aston Villa,
Yeah,
to be
deserved,
honest.
right?
Yeah.
And we gave some good shout outs. So the full team is Araya in goal, White, Saliba, Stones, and Udoki as the back five. Incredible midfield of Rice, Rodri, and Odegaard. And then, of course, Mr. Cold Palmer, the annoying Phil Foden, and stunning Ollie Watkins team of the season.
Amazing team of the season. I think this team, Rice can play as a number 8.
Of
So,
course, that's what he does
the
for Arsenal.
midfield is going to be amazing. Don't worry
Yeah,
about it. We're gonna win the league with this one.
and unlike the freaking Premier League one, this is an actually balanced. I think that a lot of times people do the team of the season and they just do all the attackers because they're like, oh, I hate when they do that. I personally think they should balance out the teams to be
Yeah,
semi-realistic, not this
yeah.
FIFA ridiculousness. Essentially,
No,
the
but,
EA
but you know that
nonsense.
if a Big Lev was here, he would put Nunez up front.
Oh, that's that. Don't
Da
even get me. What is it?
Darweezy
Darweezy
2024.
2024. And I think that's a wrap. We're gonna want to watch Champions League next week. Basically, the end of the season. Kind of sad moment, but it's been a very long, interesting season. We have the Euros coming up, and we'll be back in a couple weeks, right before the Euros start, just to do a quick preview. But that's all from us.
Yeah, we're gonna have a slower summer, and then we'll be back full on with our hot takes with the new season. Hopefully, when United win the league again, or Arsenal, not City.
Not
All right,
City, not City.
yeah,
Goodbye.
all right, peace.